What's up, guys? How you doing? Welcome to the Fantasy Hub. We are back again. Welcome to Week 7. It is Thursday, October 18th. My partner Mike cannot make it here today. That is okay. I'm sure he will be back next week. Work comes first. We totally get it. Just wanted to continue with this. Go over just the usual stuff that we do. Go over the matchups. Go over some of the news. Got a couple notes here, some of the trades, and another big trade week. So let's just jump in. Not going to waste anybody's time. So let's start off with the trades. So one of the first trades of the week was Spitzer and Pat. Spitzer wanted to trade Ingram for high. So he traded Mark Ingram and Kyle Rudolph for Zach Ertz and Brandon Cooks. Obviously, everybody has their needs. I value running backs more than wide receivers. So even though Ertz is the best tight end in the league, I don't know. Maybe I would have kept Ingram just because I do like to use him in that goal line situation. He's a great back, but Spitz is probably thinking, hey, there's Thomas, there's Kamara, now there's Ingram. Is there enough to go around, especially when they got a matchup like Baltimore this week, where there's probably not going to be a whole lot of scoring. So you would think Ingram's not going to go for 15 or 20 points, maybe 9 or 10. So I kind of understand. I think it kind of worked for both teams. The second trade, which happened, was me. I traded Gurley, who I never thought I was going to trade. He's been a monster. I read an article. He's on pace for 29 touchdowns this year. Will it happen? I'm not sure. So it was Gurley, Landry, Kerryon Johnson, who is done with his bye week, for Barkley and Thielen. So Barkley is the number 3 fantasy running back, and Thielen is the number 1 fantasy receiver. And Gurley obviously is the best in fantasy altogether. And then David got Landry and Kerryon. Then the third, well, there was a little trade too. It was Freeman for Smallwood with Vice and David. But I mean, these are small guys, so that doesn't really matter too much. The next trade that happened was Amari Cooper and Marshawn Lynch for Fournette. This trade is a bit surprising because I know that there were a lot of people trying to get Fournette. I received a few messages saying, hey, I was offering James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, receiver for the Falcons. Riley? Yeah, and then for DeAndre Hopkins and Fournette. They say that Fournette potentially could come back this week. Maybe they're going to sit him out. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. I read that Lynch might be out for a long time. Even if Cooper was healthy, which he got destroyed last week, he has been absolute trash. I actually thought if Mike wasn't going to trade him for something small, he was going to drop him because he doesn't mean anything. So I don't get it. And I got another message saying, hey, I had healthy running backs going out for Fournette, and it just didn't work. But everybody has their own vision. Everybody has their own team. I just don't think this helped Jackie at all. Couple injuries to go over in the league. We have Freeman, Falcons running back, has been banged up all year. He looked like he came back healthy, was going to play, but then he might have heard something again in practice. So he's done actually for the year. Kupp suffered a big injury last week, but apparently instead of being out for the season or for a significant period of time, he's just missing a week, which is great news for Vice. Vice has a stud receiving core with Brown, Julio Jones, and Kupp. And then Lynch. He's 32 years old. Gruden said he's concerned this is a long-term injury. I'm not sure. There was an MRI. They didn't tell us what the MRI revealed. I guess we're just going to stay tuned and find out. And then the saga of Le'Veon Bell. Will he return? Will he not return? Who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter. Connor's been playing great. If Bell comes back, obviously he's the main guy. I think they're going to run him down because this is going to be his last season for the Steelers. They're going to probably not want to get Bell banged up or hurt or have too many carries, I'm sure. Connor. I'm sure Connor's going to get in some of the carries, but I think Bell's going to be the main guy if he comes back. Supposedly on Monday, I personally think he's been smoking marijuana this whole entire time, and he's just pushing it back until it leaves the system. Because he's in Miami, he's riding jet skis, partying it up, having a great time. I'm sure he doesn't want to get suspended again, so he keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. My personal thought, didn't read it anywhere. Obviously, that's just what I think. So we're gonna go over the standings. Um, there are 5-1 teams, which is just kind of crazy. That is a combined record of 20-4. That's pretty nuts. So it's gonna be. I'm gonna go in order. That's point 4 as well. So the first one is Erica. She's 5-1. Then it's Justin. Then it's Travis. Then it's me. Then we're gonna go with Mike at the 5 spot, and then you have a couple guys fighting for the 6th. It's Donnelly, David, Pat. Then you got Seacott, Hoppy, Spitzer. Wow. I mean, that's going to be a tight race because even some of these 2-4s that could really get a couple wins in and seal the last 6th spot. I'm not sure who's going to drop from the 5-1s. I know I'm playing Justin this week, so that's going to be a fun matchup. Both have good teams. If we're looking at the waiver money, I spent a lot of money this week, so I don't have a lot. The lowest money is me with 18, David with 8, Pat with 18, Jackie with 53, Vice with 35. Nick still has 100. He hasn't spent a single dollar. That's the only person at 100. Everybody else spent a little bit of money. And then if you're 1-5, 1-4-1, 1-4-1, I mean, you're not done. For by no means. There's some time left. You never know what could happen. A couple of big injuries. I think if you get another loss, you're finished. I do think at one point, 2 years ago, Getty, I think, was it Mike? I think he was 2-5, and he ended up making a comeback. He went on a run, and he ended up making the playoffs. I think that was 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, this is a must-win week for you guys. But don't give up. Don't think you're done. And if you do lose this week, it's time to think about the toilet bowl because you do get $100 back. So maybe do some trades, make something happen. Look at some of the playoff weeks and say, hey, maybe I need to build my team to win $100. You know what I mean? If you really have no shot, if you do some math, you're like, oh man, there's no way in hell I'm gonna make it. But hey, you still got $100 to play for. That's just kind of league that we got going on here. We're gonna jump next into just some of my thoughts about the standings too. Hoppy lashed out last week, talked a little shit. Amateur, low budget podcast. No shit. We're not professionals here. We're not doing this for the whole world. We're doing it for you guys. Me and Mike are putting in the time. We're taking time out of our lives to make this good for you guys. It's clearly kept people involved. It clearly kept people talking. I mean, we're putting in 8 to 10 hours a month into this. Obviously, we don't get paid for this. We do this for fun. We do this for you guys. So when we call you out for making dumbass trades, that's just our opinion. So it looks like the only amateur thing about the situation was your dumbass trade last week with Julio Jones, to be honest. He scored 20 fantasy points, and the guys that you got combined for 8. You lost by 3. So when we told you it was a bad trade, it was a bad fucking trade. Now, Jones is in the bye week, and your boy Fuller is playing Jacksonville Jaguars. And Julio Jones had like 170 yards. So, I mean, we're not always right. We're not the masters. I'm sure I made some trades. You guys are like, what the fuck is this guy doing? We're not trying to take personal shots. You'll have to understand. This is a podcast. Like, we're talking about stuff. If you disagree with something, shit, send us a message. There is clearly a chat that people are using. Make your own podcast. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, this is just for you guys. So, maybe a thank you is good. And then I'm sure we're gonna just dive in and talk about the next segment. I'm gonna call it the Fire and Ice segment. Fire is obviously good. These players are gonna be hot. Ice is gonna be players that I think are just gonna be cold and may not have great games. And so we'll just take a look. You guys like my owl? Check out my owl. Woohoo! You like that? Oh, maybe Luke could Luke. You want to hold him? Can you hold my owl, Luke, please? Oh, how do I turn it? Doesn't matter. Great coffee, guys. If you guys ever need some good coffee, come over to my house. I make the best coffee, better than any star shit Bucks crap you'll ever have. I swear to God, man, it's the best. Fire and ice. Boom. We're gonna jump right in this. We're gonna go with running backs. Fire. Royce Freeman versus the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals defense is a high school defense besides Patrick Peterson. Royce Freeman, like, holy shit, you're picking Royce Freeman. He hasn't done anything. That's okay. He's still averaging around 9 fantasy points a game, which is flex if you have bye weeks. But Todd Gurley ran, not Todd Gurley. Arizona defense is garbage. So basically, Freeman is going to destroy them. Latavius Murray ran for 158 yards, and before that, he wasn't doing anything at all. So I expect Royce Freeman to have a pretty good game. Then you have Mixon versus Kansas City. Mixon came back. He gave a spark to the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a good week last week. I think he's going to continue to do that. He's going to dominate through the air, through the ground game. There's not really a lot of linebackers that can cover Mixon. If you think about it, I mean, their best linebacker is Hitchens out of the middle linebacker spot, and he's a very slow guy. He's more of like a tackling expert, so there's no way in hell he's going to be able to keep up with Mixon. I expect them to continue to do the wheel routes that they do with Mixon to roll him out. My ice running backs is going to be Christian McCaffrey versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I've been saying this more than 1 week. I think Philly has the best run D in the league. I know that Barkley went kind of nuts on them last week. That's fine. Before that, no one was doing anything. McCaffrey is still going to be heavily involved in the passing game, but I don't expect more than 35 rushing yards against them. But you never know. And my second ice is Kamara versus Baltimore. Yes, Ingram came back. Kamara had a slow week, but they didn't really need him because they were kind of destroying the Redskins, and Ingram was fresh, so they were like, "Fuck it, just run, do whatever you want, destroy the Redskins. We'll just keep Kamara here, just hanging out and maybe healing up." So Kamara is going to be very involved in the passing game, especially against Baltimore if they can't run. But I just don't think you're going to see crazy 3 touchdown games like we did in the beginning of the year. My fire wide receivers are going to be Robert Woods versus San Francisco, and that is because Kupp is going to miss time. And even when Kupp was healthy, Goff loves Woods. I mean, he likes converting with him. They use Cooks for really the big play, and they use Woods and Kupp, to get the first downs, the slants, the ins, the outs. They love that shit. So I think Woods is going to pick up the slack from Kupp being done, and then the guy I just traded, actually, Landry versus Tampa. There's literally nobody in the Tampa secondary that could cover anybody. And there's no one on the Cleveland Browns receiving core that could catch the ball besides Landry. He's obviously very talented. They're going to find a way to get him the ball. He's pretty vocal, so he's going to let him know. My ice receivers are going to be Demaryius Thomas versus Arizona. Patrick Peterson allowed, I think, less than 100 receiving yards on him the entire year. He was covering Diggs last week. I mean, he shuts everybody down, so I expect him to be in Demaryius Thomas because he's like the number one outside guy. Sanders kind of works the slot. And then Alshon Jeffrey versus Carolina Panthers. I think they're a really good defense. And if you think about it, since Jeffrey came back and they signed Matthews, that whole offense really just kind of goes to Ertz and Jeffrey. So you would think Carolina, being a really good defense, is going to want to just take Jeffrey out of the picture. He's not going to burn you with his speed, nothing like that. So I predict maybe 4 or 5 catches for 54 yards, something like that. So it's nothing crazy from him. My fire quarterbacks are going to be Matt Ryan versus the Giants. Matt Ryan's been hot. He's playing at home. His home percentage is absolutely nuts. He just destroys people. And Atlanta's defense is awful. They've lost all their key guys. And so it's just going to be like a combined 60-plus point game. Matt Ryan's going to have a good week. And then we have Kirk Cousins versus the Jets. The Jets allow 7 most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and Thielen right now is the best wide receiver in fantasy. Obviously, you have Diggs, you have Dalvin Cook coming back, great pass catcher. I think Kirk is going to have a big game. My ice quarterbacks are might surprise you guys because you're like, well, aren't they matchup proof? I don't know. Brady and Breeze are my ice quarterbacks. Not only that both of the games are away games, they're playing against the Bears, who pretty much lead the league in sacks. And then Breeze is playing Baltimore in Baltimore. And this is an outside game in Baltimore. East Coast weather is super fucky. You never know what's going to happen. Breeze plays in a dome at home, but I think these guys are older too. They're 40 years old, and obviously that hasn't stopped them from pretty much being in the MVP running. But I think the cold weather, away games, good defenses. I would say both teams are in a uh, top five defenses in the league. I think they're gonna slow those stars down. Um, then we're gonna jump into tight ends. And my fire tight ends are gonna be two tight ends. I got Njoku versus Tampa. It seems like um, that's where the Browns like to go when they kind of not sure what's going on. They go through their reads. Baker Mayfield should go to Landry, but he feels really comfortable from Njoku. We kind of saw that on Hard Knocks, where there was a preseason game where Njoku caught 2 touchdowns. He likes going to that guy. They kind of have a rapport together. And then Azuma, which is the Cincinnati Bengals tight end, he's the main guy now. They like him, and he's playing Kansas City. I think he's gonna probably easily have a touchdown. My ice tight ends, I literally have none, just because the landscape is just filled with garbage tight ends. There's really no tight ends you could rely on besides like 3 or 4. So I just wasn't gonna waste time and look through what shit tight end I'm gonna pick this week because half of them are trash anyway. So that doesn't matter. Um, we're going to jump into matchups, which is always fun. You just never know what's gonna happen. You honestly don't. Every week is crazy. Um, we're in that really fun period where lots of trades are happening. There's a little bit of panic in teams, and we're gonna really see what the football teams are all about. Great stuff. Also, if you guys do not know, we got our boy LeBron James taking the night off for the Cavs tonight. That's gonna be a fun game. So, if you like basketball, make sure to tune in. Lakers are gonna be a good time. So the first matchup is gonna be me versus Justin, the battle of the 5-1 teams. I decided to have a little fun with Justin. Justin is my boy. We go way back. He's one of the funniest guys I've met. So I talked a little shit in the chat. That's all right. That's all for fun. So I think I will win. Justin doesn't have a tight end. I literally don't think he's got another tight end on his roster. I'm not sure who he's gonna drop or pick up because Vance McDonald's on a bye. There's no tight ends there. Um, so he's already at a disadvantage. It's gonna be kind of close, but if he has any chance of winning, I would think that Woods and Lindsey would just have to have monster games. I think they both are gonna have to go for 20 points each for him to have a shot. Edelman's against Chicago. Thomas is against Baltimore. Obviously, I have Barkley against Atlanta. That's a good matchup. Thielen against the Jets. That's a good matchup. And Joke against Tampa. That's a good matchup. So Justin has a good team. I think I'm going to pull this one off. The next matchup we have is Nick versus Spitzer. I'll be honest. I'm pretty impressed with Spitzer. He didn't give up. He was patient on Ingram. He's making the right moves. He's making the right trades. He's starting to win games. And with that said, I picked Nick to win. Totally kidding. I picked Spitzer to win. I think Odell and John Brown are going to go nuts. I think they're gonna have huge games. Um, and then if I was Nick, I would put it in Crabtree over Jeffrey, and then I would put in Dalton instead of Winston versus Kansas City. I think if he wants to have a shot, he would have to make those two adjustments. And David Johnson's playing Denver. Gurley dropped 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, it's a different offense, but let's cut that in half. Johnson can have 100 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, I think Nick will take that. I still think Spitzer will win. Um, you just got a lot of solid players. So Then we have Mike Getty versus Vice. Juju is out, but T.Y. Hilton is in. It seems like Mike's trying to gather a bunch of all the Colts players. So if you guys have any Colts players, please send them Mike's way. Um, he's got T.Y. Hilton, Mac, Luck, Hines. I guess it's like 5. That's fine. Who did I pick to win? Okay, so Juju's out. Hilton is in. Buffalo is tough. Vice wins. Kirk and Freeman will have big games. Mike just has tough matchups. That's the thing. It's like Luck has been killing it this year, and McCaffrey's a great PPR guy. Um, but the matchups are tough. I mean, Buffalo, Philly. Look at this: Buffalo, Philly, Buffalo, Buffalo, Chicago. I mean, oh my God! Like the matchups are just tough for Mike. Where Vice gets teams like Arizona, New Orleans, Cleveland. It's just easier matchups. There's not much that Mike can really do. Maybe. Hmm. Blunt would be very interesting to put in instead of Mac. Very interesting because you're just hoping for that one touchdown and like 20 yards. That's like 8 or 10 points. That's interesting to me. But Vice really needs this win. If Vice gets this win, um, with Brown being in a bye week next week, he's got to cut Brown, Julio, and those receivers are fire. He needs this win bad. Whatever he can do to get this win. Next, we have Pat versus Jeremy. I think Jeremy is going to win this one. This is close. Um, this is close, but I honestly think because AJ Green is at Kansas City, Mike Evans is at Cleveland, and Shepard is at Atlanta, that receiving core is going to win by itself because Ingram's at Baltimore. Drake has been not that good. And QT's at Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville got lashed up by Cowboys, but each team, like even the Vikings, got destroyed by the Bills. Like a team is gonna have off games. So I'm not really worried about Jacksonville defense. So I think Jeremy is gonna win this game. I mean, he's been the most unluckiest player in this league so far. So hopefully he can turn it around. And Pat's been making a lot of fair trades, in my opinion. So he could have a shot as well. But I think Jeremy's gonna win. The next one we have is David versus Erica. This is a very even game. This might be the closest game of the entire thing. Allen Robinson is back-to-back games with a touchdown. I think Watson is a trash tight end, but David doesn't really have a choice because his guy's in a bye week. Um, Jimmy Graham's in a bye week, so he doesn't really have a choice. Um, I'm just gonna pick Erica because I think she's just gonna overpower David. And you guys are probably thinking, "Oh my God, but David has Gurley now." Well, guess who's the second best fantasy running back in the league? Elvin Gordon. So those guys are neck and neck. I think they're separated by PPR. I think it was like 12 or 10 fantasy points, which is really not much. I mean, the difference is like 1.5 a game. And then obviously Yeldon's gonna get a full workload. Diggs at the Jets. Sanders, I think, could have a big game when he's playing Arizona because, like I said, Patrick Peterson's going to be on um, Demaryius Thomas. So Eric is going to win this one and continue to 6-1. Then we have Hoppy versus Donnelly. I think Donnelly will win. Tough matchups, but at least Donnelly has a tight end, Azuma, who's my fire tight end. O'Shaughnessy is literally Jacksonville's third string tight end. That is questionable. It's starting for Hoppy. So we're out on that one. And then I just think Elliott, Sony Michelle are better than Coleman and Javarius Allen. For Baltimore, Allen only had 1 carry last week and 3 targets. Who knows what he's gonna do next week? He scored less than 7 fantasy points in 3 straight games. So just star power of Michelle and Elliott is gonna overpower the other guys in the team. Then we have Jackie versus Travis. I'm not gonna pick a winner for this one. It really doesn't matter. I don't know what the fuck Travis is doing. He had 3 quarterbacks on the bye week. He dropped Russell Wilson like an idiot. Like, dude, just trade away some of your quarterbacks or some of the receivers. Do something. Like you're honestly 5-1. Like you have a chance to win the league. You have a chance for like $2,000. Make a move, man. Like you had all week to make a move. Trade Rodgers or Wilson or Roethlisberger. Shit, trade two of the guys. Make packages. Do something. But you decided to drop Russell Wilson, who's gonna get picked up for a lot of money, who is a good quarterback, and pick up C.J. Beathard, who is gonna be just a 1 week guy. And obviously, you still have a wide receiver problem. There's nobody in the free agency. I'm not even sure who you're going to drop. Jackie trades for Net, who could possibly play this week, um, but he didn't practice today, so he probably won't. Her new additions are not going to help her at all because Lynch is on a bye week and he's hurt, and Cooper's in a bye week. So I don't know. I don't care about the matchup. I got to see what Travis does. There's too many unknowns with what the hell he's doing. So it's whatever for me. Um, I mean that's pretty much it. I know I kind of flew through the podcast today. I just don't have a whole lot of time, but I didn't want you guys to, you know, get a podcast this 1 week, then not get it next week. I want to stay consistent. I'm like, that's why there's a benefit of having two people doing a podcast because I'm sure there's gonna be times where I can't make it. So Mike's gonna have to pick up the slack and come in and help me out and do a podcast. Um, I will want to develop a system, maybe work on it this week when things slow down to bring on guests. Obviously, I know who's already interested in doing it. It'll be fun to bring people on, for 5 minute conversations. Like I said, we're new to this. We haven't really done it. We're just kind of learning how to do everything. So, guests will be a lot of fun. Um, but that's about it, guys. I mean, thank you for tuning in. Good luck to everybody. This is a really fun part of the season. Um, man, things are just gonna get crazy. Top teams are gonna fall off. Bottom teams are gonna rise. I think Spitzer's in the rise for sure. Um, we're just gonna see what happens. But thank you guys. Fantasy Hub. Peace.